In this video, I'm going to talk to you about starting a wedding invitation design business. I'm so excited for you if this is the path that you're on. So let's just go ahead and dive in. Hi, I'm Lainey. I'm a wedding invitation designer and I love to teach other people how to start and run successful, profitable stationery design businesses. This can be a really profitable business for you if you do it right. I'm going to handle this a little bit backwards, it might seem, because I think in this business, it's important to try it before you buy it, if that makes sense. Try it out, see if you like it, see if this is the type of business that you actually want to be running. And then we'll get into kind of what you need to actually officially start the business if you decide that this is the path you want to take. If you are serious about this, I have a very in-depth course I'll link in the description of the video. It's 10 plus hours on design, assembly, production, and of course, running the business, pricing, etc. So the first thing you want to do is learn about the etiquette of invitations. This includes the different pieces, what goes on them, how to mail invitations, addressing etiquette, etc. This is so that you can lead your clients through this process like a professional and you're not making mistakes that make you look like an amateur. It's our job as designers to understand how you write the time, how you address the invitations, who gets an invitation, who doesn't get an invitation, etc. So you need to learn about that. You can find some of that information here on my channel, a couple of blog posts I'll link in the description. And Emily Post is really the authority on all etiquette. She's like the end all be all authority. I also want to say that learning the etiquette doesn't mean you have to follow it 100% of the time. A lot of couples are no longer following traditional guidelines. They're hosting weddings themselves, or they just don't follow kind of the traditional cis heterosexual couple structure. So there's a lot of things we're doing where we're just throwing etiquette out the window. But even when you're doing that, even when you're doing fun, creative wording, it's important to know the rules so you can break them in the right way. After you learn the etiquette, you want to learn about design programs. I recommend learning Adobe. Illustrator and InDesign are the two platforms that most stationery designers use, with a little bit of reliance on Photoshop for certain things. This is all covered in my course, but the biggest thing here is that yes, you can design beautiful invitations in Word, in Canva, in Procreate, and all these other, free or less expensive platforms. But if you are serious about taking this on as a business, you need to be using the most robust platforms that give you the most features, and you also need to be using the industry standards so that when you're working with printers or other stationery designers or other people in the industry, you're able to communicate with them on the same playing field that they're on. So if there's something wrong with your file and your printer reaches out and you say, oh, I did this in Canva, they're not going to be able to tell you how to fix it. But if you made it in Illustrator or InDesign, they're probably going to be able to tell you how to fix it because of years of experience in that program. There's also millions of tutorials out there, a lot of them on the channel, about how to use these platforms. So once you start diving into them, I think that you'll learn to really, really love them. So if I had to say you should learn one program to begin with, I would say Adobe Illustrator. Some people might say InDesign, but I think Illustrator is a little bit more robust for invitation design, but that's personal preference. To learn these platforms, lots of tutorials here on this channel, more in-depth tutorials in my course, but also you can find beginner courses on Skillshare, Udemy, lots of these like educational platforms, and of course, tons of smaller tutorials everywhere here on YouTube. After you've learned etiquette and started practicing your design, you've made beautiful things on the computer. They follow the proper etiquette. They look wonderful, but you want to practice getting them onto paper because honestly, I think this is the hardest part of the job. And you'll learn a lot about design when you actually start printing because there are just so many things that can look really good on the computer, but don't translate well to paper. Vice versa. There's just a lot that you're going to learn here. And if you're learning this on a paying client, it's going to be a lot more painful and a lot more expensive than learning it on a test sample, or even if you're working with like maybe your friend on a birthday party for their 1-year-old or something like that. I really like doing kind of free design work for friends on smaller projects when you're starting out because I think it gives you the experience of working with a client's input without kind of, those painful issues that might happen on 150 invitations. If you screw something up on 10 invitations, it's a little bit easier than if you screw something up on 150 letterpress with 5 different pieces, etc. Even if you're not working with people on like free birthday party invites or something, you do want to create some samples of what your work is going to look like because then you're going to have a portfolio to share and you'll start attracting clients that fit the work you want to be doing. So whatever type of design you want to be doing, go ahead and start creating that, because otherwise people are going to reach out to you and they're going to be dictating the style of your first few suites, and then you'll have pictures of that style, you'll get more clients of that style, etc. This is a cycle that I learned kind of the hard way when I was starting out, because I just took whatever was given to me as opposed to taking control and starting to design what I wanted to and put out the work that I wanted to. Now I put out a lot of the work that I want to put out and showcase that, and then I get a lot more clients that are more ideal for my style. So those are kind of the 3 steps, which is learning the etiquette, learning design programs, and then making samples that are going to get you an idea of what this job actually looks like. And I encourage you to even assemble those samples, even if it's only 10 of them. Tie the bows, do the wax seals, put the envelope liners in, put it all together, do the postage, etc., so that you get an idea of what this is going to look like. And imagine, you know, this is how long it took me to do 10 of these. Am I going to be able to do 150 of these, or is it going to feel terrible to me and be something that I absolutely hate doing? Because there's a lot of parts of the job that aren't just, hey, this beautiful thing that I made. A lot of the parts of the job are tying 150 bows in a row, and you have to be able to do that. I'm not trying to be a downer here. I love this job, but I just want you to get the real experience of it. So if you go through all of that, you decide you really want to do this, then how do you actually go through setting up your business, and what things do you need from a licensing perspective to become a wedding invitation designer? The first thing is that you want to register your business name locally. I would just search your county, register business in Jefferson County, and it will give you instructions. There's a lot of different things you have to do based on where you are. But you'll need to basically just file a business name. It'll probably be somewhere around $50, and you might have to do something different. Like in San Diego County, when I started my business, I had to put my new business name in the newspaper every Friday for 4 weeks straight. Super weird, but it was actually pretty easy to do it when I Googled the instructions. You don't have to do that in most places, but there will just be different forms that you have to fill out to legally file your business. Then from there, you're going to need a sales tax license in your state or county, and you might need a federal tax ID. You don't necessarily need this unless you're going to be hiring other people or filing as an S Corp, where you're paying yourself on payroll. But you will likely need this to create some wholesale accounts with printers and paper suppliers. So it might be useful to go ahead and do it. If I remember correctly, it doesn't cost anything, or it's very cheap, and it's very, very easy to do, even easier than registering locally. You'll also apply for a sales tax license in your county, and at that point you'll need to file your sales tax every month or quarter, depending on what they require. And you'll need to make sure you understand the sales taxes in your area. I can't really speak to that because we're all in different areas and there's a lot of different rules, but just read the sales tax code in your area and ask some other business owners in your area for some clarification. And then from a money perspective, I recommend setting up a separate bank account. It can be at the same bank, so you can still access it with all your online bank accounts, but you do want to separate things from a financial perspective. So I set up a checking account and a savings account for my business, and went ahead and started making all my purchases from that account and bringing all my profits and revenue into that account. Then you can start paying yourself. I started paying myself just like 30% of every job or 50% of profit on every job, just kind of winging it at the beginning. I wasn't really paying myself very much. And then eventually I got to a point, where I felt comfortable giving myself $500 every 2 weeks, raised that up. And then now I make a pretty regular salary. There are a few different tax filings that you can do. Traditionally, most of us start out as sole proprietorships. That's a little bit more lenient. You kind of are the same as the business and as a person. So it's not really that big of a deal if you're separating your money, if you accidentally spend something on your personal card for your business, vice versa. All of that is going to be filed on your personal tax return with a Schedule C, self-employment form. However, you could also file as a single member LLC at the beginning, or partnership LLC, etc. if you have multiple people. This is just going to protect you a little bit further. It's limited liability corporation, so it's limiting your liability. And if you do that, you can file in one of two ways. You can file still as a single member LLC. You're basically filing the same as a sole proprietorship. All the money that comes in is included as income on your tax return. Or you can file as an S Corp. And this basically means that you're payrolling yourself and your business is separate from your personal. And that's something that I've started to do lately. And so I'm paying payroll taxes, I'm withholding those. And at the end of the year, in theory, I will get potentially a tax return as opposed to having to pay a lot like you do if you do the sole proprietorship or LLC. So just depends on how you want to do it. Most of us start as sole proprietorships because it's less complicated, and then move into an LLC to protect any of your personal assets. And then if you get to a certain point, my accountant says it's around $75,000 or $80,000 in profit for your business, then it makes a lot of sense to file as an S Corp. But I am not a tax accountant, I'm not an attorney, so make sure you make these decisions on your own. I'm just trying to kind of guide you at the very beginning. Once you've got your business legally set up, you'll want to start doing marketing, and I have so many other videos on that. I'm not even going to touch on it here because I don't want to make this last all day, but if you are interested in really taking this seriously and you want to deep dive into starting the business, learning design programs, learning the etiquette, learning how to print and design and all of the things associated with wedding invitation design, then I hope you'll check out our course From Start to Suite. I'll link it in the description of this video. And while you're here, I have a ton of other videos that will help you run a successful, profitable stationery business that you can check out. Thanks, everyone.